Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming at you live from episode 43 of Life on the Rocks with your host, Connor Rocques. Today's featured guest in the hot seat is my friend, Selene Rose. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you, Connor?
Really good, thank you.
Good.
It's an absolute pleasure to have Selene on the show. If you haven't seen her on social media, she actually is the author of Everyday Eats, Uncomplicated Recipes for Time-Starved Healthy Eaters. So we got this in studio here today. She's also a registered holistic nutritionist who owns a business and her own, actually uses her personal brand, Selene Rose. So first thing I want to ask you here today, what got you started in business? Like, started off as a nutritionist, a holistic one.
Yeah, so that's a great question. My passion, I think, first and foremost, is business.
Mm-hmm.
So I studied communications and advertising in Sudbury at Laurentian and Cambrian. And it even kind of goes back before that. When I was younger, I just had this passion for business. I loved sales, I loved marketing, I loved copywriting, I loved the idea of interviewing people and being interviewed and that kind of stuff. And just, I always knew that I wanted to have my own business. So for a while there, I just wasn't sure what the business was going to be. And then after studying advertising and communications, I worked as a copywriter at an ad agency in Toronto. And being from Sudbury, the 1.5 hour commute each way on top of like a 10-hour day at the office was just not for me.
Definitely.
I was just like, this is
it's
not.
a little much, yeah.
Yeah, and it was really like a high stress lifestyle, high pace, and my health suffered. I did what a lot of young people do who are ambitious and who want to, really just take their career by the horns, and I mistreated my body. I wasn't eating well.
McDonald's? No, no.
Not at that point, but yeah, and that kind of set me on my own health journey. I realized that things needed to change. I discovered yoga, I discovered my passion for nutrition, and then I thought, okay, this is it. Mm-hmm. And I was finally able to combine my two passions for business and for nutrition together into what I have today.
Absolutely. What got you, so how long have you been in business for?
It's been about 4.5 years.
How hard, was it for you to finally say, you know what, after you were doing the copywriting thing with the advertising and everything, how hard was it for you as an entrepreneur to take that leap of faith?
It was really difficult, and yet I want to say it kind of found me. It kind of became apparent to me that this is what I wanted to do, and as I started learning about health and learning about my body, I realized that there were so many things that were not taught. So many daily things about our body, about the way that we can keep our energy up or manage our energy, things like that are so crucial. They're daily tools, but we don't have resources for those kinds of things. And so it really just became kind of my mission to share that with people.
And do you, what made you go into the holistic side of it? Obviously, there's different types of nutritionists. What made you go into the holistic avenue of it?
Yeah, so that again was my experience with the medical system. And I don't want to bash the medical system. It's not about that. It's not about that for me, because I think that every discipline has its tools and all of those tools have their own place.
Definitely.
But what I found was that for chronic symptoms, for lifestyle disease kinds of symptoms, that holistic and natural healing was so much of a better answer. Things like yoga, like breath work, meditation, mindfulness, those can help you to resolve so many symptoms, so many, stress, headaches, digestive symptoms even, and then adding nutrition onto that and adding, maybe some herbal supplements or things like that. It just seemed like a much more comprehensive approach. Definitely. And it just made so much more sense.
Absolutely, too. More of a naturalistic thing, and a lot of people, obviously you can see it's kind of trending in that people are trying to get away from GMOs, stuff like that. And it seems like obviously there isn't always just one answer to everything, right? So you go to a doctor and you're starting to see obviously in the medical field now where, it's like, oh no, this is the only way, but then you see several other options coming out there. So I find it interesting that, to start a business, it's a great time, especially to go into that market, and then obviously you've done quite well for yourself. What got you started? So with all this stuff, with your business, what made you write a book? Because I mean, that takes I've done it. It takes a lot of work to go out there and write a book.
Yeah, absolutely. So the book definitely did not happen overnight. It was something that clients had been asking me for a really long time, and I was just kind of like, I'll get to it. I know it's something I want to do, but I kept kind of putting it on the back burner. It wasn't priority.
Yeah.
And then finally I had the team. I had, access to a designer. I had recipes that I'd compiled and tested over the last couple of years and have been using with my clients. And so I know that they're good. I know what the favorites are.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like the right time to pull it all together and get it done.
So that's good. How long did it take you to write the book?
Well, see, that again is kind of, I don't really know how to answer that.
It's been out there, but you didn't,
Because the recipes, like, I built them over 2 years.
Exactly, yeah.
So there was that, and then some of the bits of writing I pulled from the course manual for my Eats and Asana Yoga and Nutrition course.
Okay.
So little bits and pieces of that came in, and then in the actual months that I sat down to write the additional things, a couple of months it took me, and then a lot of work with the pictures and with the designer and having back and forth on all that to really pull it together. So
True.
Yeah, probably about 6 months of that more intense process.
Exactly, yeah. Would you argue that it's like everyone always wants to have something that's perfect, right? You know what I mean? I was the same way, and then there's always like some editing mistake or something. Like, would you argue that you gave it, like, obviously, do you agree with that? That a lot of time, like, you put everything into it, that's it, it went out there. Obviously, you got some good responses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Can you buy it on Amazon?
Not yet. I'm going to be setting that up hopefully in March.
Oh, that's cool,
It's going to be in chapters at the end of February.
That's great.
And you can get it online right now at my website. And I've set up local distribution. So
that's great.
My Yoga in the South End, Pure Wellness Group, and the Basement Fitness are currently carrying
Okay, that's
the book.
huge. Honestly, I think that's great. Yeah, especially then going to do the book signing and the chapters piece of it, right? And let's talk for a second. So obviously, you come holistic background. A lot of people, there is some controversy associated, right? People are like, oh, well, yoga doesn't work for this, and I want you to talk about that. I went to a few yoga classes, and I'm pretty high strung, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
And I'm very tense, but I would go to yoga class, and I'd be completely at zen at the end of it. Like, what does it really do, like, with yoga? Is it the breathing? Is it the techniques, the physiology engagement? Like, what is, like, the whole idea behind the concept of yoga and making it give you a better life?
Yeah, so that's a great question.
That's a loaded one.
It is. It's a great question. I think that it's a lot of things. So we need to look at the state that we're in before we go to yoga. And if that's like your typical work day, you're on the phone, you're in front of the computer, things are coming at you. It's all of this energy out time. So I describe this a lot in my yoga classes that wherever we are looking, we're giving our attention. And during the day, it's very visually stimulated. So everything's happening out here, outside of ourselves. Then what happens when we go in the yoga class is phone is off.
Yeah.
There's no screen in the room, no artificial lighting. Usually lights are really dim. It's a completely different sensory experience. And it's conducive to bringing that energy and that focus and attention back in towards your body. So you're working really during the day with one side of your nervous system, the sympathetic side, where you're in that kind of fight or flight response. It's very like boom, 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 you're firing.
Ping, ping, yeah, right.
Exactly, and then yoga helps us with the breathing, as you mentioned, the dim lights, the mindful attention back in towards our body. Get over into that parasympathetic side of our nervous system, which is more about rest and digest. It actually has a different nervous system response in our bodies. So it's not just about, the lighting or if there's essential oils in the air, or it's not even specifically about the poses. Like, yes, all of that matters and it all comes together to form that experience, but there's actual changes that are going on physiologically in our body when we do yoga, when we breathe deep, when we chant, all of that kind of stuff comes together.
Definitely. I want to ask you, and not to interject, are you a student of Tony Robbins? Like, do you follow a lot of Tony's stuff?
I do. I'm a student of a lot of thought leaders.
Yeah,
Tony's one of them. I've been to his Unleash the Power
that's
event,
amazing.
and I had a great time.
Yeah, the reason I asked too, because a lot of this stuff, like, it kind of goes hand in hand with, like, trying to be your ideal self. Like, I live by a mentality that, you know what I mean, I can control what I can do, you know, early in the morning. I get up, do my thing, got my routine, workout, and then I can control, you know, going to bed. But everything else in between, you try to control, but it gets chaotic, right?
Yeah.
So I obviously take it that you're probably someone that has, you know, morning rituals and such that kind of prime you for your day.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What are some of those, like, for people? So, for instance, this is a huge one because I know it almost seems sometimes, and I don't mean to have a stigma or anything associated, but a lot of our society's burned out a lot of the time. You meet a lot of people, you're shaking, hey, how you doing? It's kind of, you know, you don't really see people like ourselves that are really kind of sparked up, passionate all the time. You do, in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of people that are kind of burning out. Like, what's some of your advice to these people, like, through food and through the yoga and everything else, like, with physiology manipulation, that people can do to kind of get their energy up?
Yeah, fantastic question. I'm also a big fan of bookending my days with that morning ritual and with that evening ritual. And this is something, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, guys, great for you because you're single and yes, you run a business, but you don't have a family, you don't have all these things. It's like, what might be an hour or 2 hours for me right now in my lifestyle, maybe that's 15 minutes for you.
It's true.
So the practices that I'm going to talk about, work them into your own lifestyle with the time that you have to do it. If that's 10 or 15 minutes, if it's 5 deep breaths in the morning, you know, if you have that little bit of time and you can make that ritual out of it for yourself, then go with that. But things that I recommend people do in the morning, meditation is a really big one. I started really committing to my meditation practice this past summer. So it's been about 6 months of me really diving into it and making it a daily ritual. And I see an immense difference.
No kidding. How do you do, like, so not to interject, and we'll finish the question, but how do you meditate? Like, what do you focus on when you're meditating? Like, that's such a question because so many people want to get into meditation, like myself, and I've always had a hard time sitting still and trying to get into there, so I try active meditation, something like yoga, I guess, but like, how do you meditate? Like, what is it that you have to do to get that going?
Yeah, so one of the biggest challenges to starting is actually finding a comfortable place to sit. And that can sound so kind of trivial or silly, but it is. If you can be comfortable and relaxed in your body, then you're going to be able to reach that calmer state. So number one, find a space that's comfortable where you can be upright, spine nice and tall. But then from there, I like using an app. The Headspace app is fantastic.
Oh, wow.
And that's such an easy tool for people to begin with. Or finding any kind of guided meditation. There's plenty of them on YouTube. Find someone's voice that resonates with you. Find one that gives a message that resonates with you. And that's a fantastic place to start. Because for a lot of people, just starting off by sitting in stillness, it's too much. It's daunting, right? We go from this crazy world with all this stimulation to complete silence. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, the brain, it's like a deer in the headlights sort of thing, right? Yeah. No, I think that's super important. I didn't know a lot of it there. What was that app called again?
Headspace.
So Headspace, okay, that's huge. And then to go off of your other question, so the morning ritual, so you know what I mean? So you start off with your meditation. How else does this work through? Walk me through it.
Yeah, so meditation is a big one, and journaling. I'm a big fan of writing morning pages. It's a practice that comes from the Writer's Diet. If you look up the book, you can find it there. But basically what it is journaling longhand pages in the morning, just stream of consciousness. That's kind of a way of... it's a writing meditation because you're becoming aware of your thoughts and you're getting them down onto the page. That's a great way to get in touch with emotions that might be kind of lingering inside of you and you might not even be aware of it. Helps to bring all of that to the forefront.
Yeah.
So we have writing, we have meditation, any kind of body movement. I don't like saying exercise per se because that can be too much for people, but you know, stretching, a couple of yoga poses, you know, maybe it's doing something a little bit more aerobic, whatever that looks like for you, but getting your blood flowing and then setting intentions for the day and giving gratitude. Yeah.
Yeah, the gratitude piece, we say it's like gratitude's almost like a drug. I don't know if this will resonate with you. Myself, similar kind of ritual. I don't do the meditation, but I kind of roll out of bed there. But my thing is, I always say, my morning coffee is 5K and a workout. Not always 5K, but I'll do 2K. I'll go for a run. I'll go right to the gym in the morning. That's when I kind of prime myself. So I find that's good. Like myself, where I kind of lack is the second part is like kind of trying to get into the meditation pieces once the day starts, once it starts going, constant stimulus coming off my phone.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought it was interesting to ask. And then obviously closing the night, another thing we do, like it's similar to you taking the conscious notes, is obviously goal setting. Just kind of seeing where's your target, right? For the day, we're in sales or business, whatever it is, you got to have some type of kind of target.
Yeah.
But to change gears for a second, so going off of this, so with the morning rituals, building energy off of that, what would you argue, going back to business for a second, what's the hardest part of your business?
That's a good question. I think sometimes it's keeping up with everything. It's like you build the momentum, right? And then you have to live the momentum.
Absolutely.
And it's finding that balance of self-care and introverting and extroverting. And I think that's something that I'm always juggling. I'm always negotiating that boundary, that fine line for myself. And I think that if I didn't have the tools that I do around nutrition and eating well, yoga, mindfulness, meditation, if I didn't have some of those tools on my side, I would probably find it much more challenging.
Much more chaotic.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to New York City, Times Square for the first time. It's very, tense area. You get used to. I was sitting there, and I'm usually good. Throw me anywhere, I'll sink or swim.
Yeah.
But I went there. It's like that kind of thing. If you don't have all that, you kind of ground yourself, I guess.
Yes.
Are you more introverted or extroverted?
Oh, great question. I think I really sit on that line where I can do both really well. I'm okay being alone. I need my alone time. I thrive in that space. But then also, I love engaging with people. I love interacting. I love public speaking and, being in front of people, meeting new people, that kind of stuff. So I think I'm probably, if I were to take one of the tests, I might kind of fall in the middle where I can really relate to either for a time.
No, absolutely. I think that's good. It's good to be both, too. Sometimes you got to, we get someone that's always talking. It's nice to kind of calm down once in a while, right?
Yeah.
Another important question I got to ask. So we're going to talk sales and marketing for a second. What's the hardest part about marketing your business? Like kind of getting out there, like obviously in this generation you have to be a hustler. In a way, not a hustler in the bad context, but got to be shaking hands. You got to get in business. People got to know your name. They got to see you, if they want to do business with you. What are some of the marketing things you do? Like, you're going to lots of networking events? Like, what are some of the things you kind of implement into your strategy when building your business?
Yeah, so relationships. Relationships are huge. And, any of the marketing books and marketing gurus out there right now, that's, I know, a big theme in marketing right now. But I say that because I've experienced it personally.
Definitely.
That, it really is about who you know, who can give you different opportunities. And it's not, I don't want to say that in a way of like leverage the people that you're meeting, but in a way it's like when you're able to share your message and your values with somebody and that really resonates with them, they're going to want to connect you with other people.
Absolutely.
And so it's getting out there, it's getting over that kind of that hump, that getting into that extrovert mode, so that you can meet other people, shake their hands, but really connect with them, get to know them, and see how I can be of value to you and how you can be of value to me. It really, to me, is about finding that exchange, whether it's with a person or with a company, even with social media. It's like that balance of, offering and of receiving from social media. Yeah.
How do you feel about, so obviously I come from a sales background too. I studied law, but I come from a sales background. I look at sales as, you know what I mean, as long as you're not selling crap, you're trying to help people, right? In the most case, that's your whole job, building relationships. How do you feel about sales in general? Like being, you know what I mean, you want to go out there and sell, promote, help people with your book. And then with your products, you have to, like, the primary driver of a business is sales, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? I always like asking people, because obviously there is a stigma with being a salesperson. Well, we all are, as much as no one wants to believe it, right? Like, how do you feel about being a salesperson, per se?
So that's something that in the really early years of my business, I had kind of a funny relationship with. You know, even charging for my services, because I do, like, I got into this because I want to share with people. I genuinely want to help people, and it almost felt weird at the beginning to be like, oh, and there's a price tag on
Tina,
that.
I need $150 for this. And they're like, yeah.
Yes, but I think that for me, the more I was able to own the value of what I can give to other people, the more comfortable I was with that exchange.
Definitely.
And so I'll give you an example of this. Is, have you ever had somebody do something for you that you're like, oh my God, this has provided me with immense value, and then they refuse to take anything in return? It almost feels funny, right? Because there's no fair exchange there. And so when I was really able to see and own the value, watch my clients' health improve, watch their careers take off, watch them be in relationships and thrive, all as a result of the work that I was doing with them, I was like, you know what, yeah, I'll let you give to me in return. And so my ideas of sales have really changed over the years, because to me, I try to look at it as inviting people into that transformation, saying, you know what, Connor, you have a goal. I'd love to help you meet that goal, and here, this is all available to you, and this is what we have to do in exchange.
Absolutely, I like that. That's actually a really interesting idea. I've never, the different angle actually coming from, you hear it from a lot of people. It's like, well, no, it's just a process, but I actually like your point on that. That actually made a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, because a lot of people, like I said, again, with that stigma, so especially starting out in business, you're like, well, no, I want to, I just want to help people, but then you got to get paid at the end of the day, too, because you're like, I got bills and stuff to pay.
Yeah.
My most important question of the interview, and this is my last one to close this off.
Okay.
How do you stay balanced in today's world? I mean, especially coming from you know probably best, especially being with the being natural holistic nutritionist and stuff like that. Like, how do you stay balanced? Like in today's crazy society.
Great question, because I think a lot of people have difficulty with this. First of all, I don't want to answer it putting forth the guise like, I'm balanced, guys.
Yeah, no. I don't want balance. I want to blow up.
I'm always negotiating that balance, but I think that because I'm so aware of it, I actively try to stay on top of it. So when I'm planning my weeks, I look at what's coming up and I plan my downtime. And I have the self-awareness to know, okay, I'm going to do 3 extrovert engagements, I need to introvert for a little while after that. Or I need to make sure that I get up early this day because it's going to be busy, and that's going to be my self-care time in the morning. Or, having downtime, having friends, places that I can go to where it's like, I know when I go there, we turn our phones off. It's just one-on-one time, and we're just hanging out, having that real kind of connection. So I think it's really about finding what feeds you aside from your work, and how do you build more of that into your schedule. And sometimes that looks like taking time when I could otherwise be working, but choosing to do a yoga class or choosing to take downtime or things like that. That was a struggle for me in the beginning. Sometimes it still is, because there's always work, and I work from home, so it's always right there. But it's about, finding those other activities and participating in them, and then keeping close monitoring on how I'm feeling. What's my energy like? How's my sleep doing? And kind of gauging with that. The morning rituals help a lot.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think that's actually really great advice, especially like, I try to tell people a lot of time, I'm like, they're just emotions. It's good. You're feeling them. You know what I mean? Go through the wave, ride it out. It's like, you're not going to be sad forever. Right? You know what I mean? It'll go through, you know what I mean? So things like yoga are getting things that can kind of enhance your state. Yeah. Besides drugs, obviously, in a lot of cases, or alcohol, let's say it like that. The other question I guess I can ask, just you kind of bring it up in my head, do you think with the digital age that it's kind of disrupting this pattern in a way, like with balance, finding balance, like, it seems like it's creating a lot of tension. Do you find that personally, like especially in your work that you're engaging in? You see a lot of people that are tense, like they don't know it consciously, but unconsciously it's like, oh, you touch them on the shoulder, like, John, you're a little bit tense there, you know what I mean? And it's like in the back of your head, like especially being a yoga teacher as well, you know what I mean? You probably see a lot of that.
Yeah, absolutely, and I've experienced it myself. It's, being sedentary, being on devices, this kind of posture is not normal for us. historically as human beings. So yeah, I think it's new. I think it's posing new challenges to us physiologically in our bodies, mentally as well. Yeah, that there's a lot of tension with the digital age, but I definitely think that there's a duality to everything. You know,
Definitely.
there are fantastic aspects to technology. Social media is amazing. We were just
Really
talking
is,
about
yeah.
this as, you know, social media being great to get the word out. That's, you know, part of how we connected. That's how we're doing this interview
Yeah, literally,
right
yeah.
now.
Everybody,
So
yeah.
it's, you know, there's fantastic aspects to that. And I think it's just like anything, trying to strike that balance for yourself, a lot of which is self-awareness, and then building your toolkit of what are going to be those things that are going to help you stay balanced.
No, absolutely. That was actually awesome to say that. That is so true. It's the hardest thing I think people have to find. I can't find balance a lot of the time. There is times I'll just finally shut off at the end of the night, which is good.
Yeah.
But I honestly must say you've done an exceptional job. And for anyone else out there, I want to put this back out here. Okay, so everybody eats. Uncomplicated recipes for time-starving healthy eaters. SeleneRose.ca?
Yes.
Okay, SeleneRose.ca. She's tagged also in here. Where else can we find you? Instagram, LinkedIn?
Yeah, Instagram is selenarose.rhn, LinkedIn, Selena Rose Biscaro, and on Facebook, Selena Rose RHN.
Perfect. Anywhere else? When's your book signing coming up?
Book signing is happening at Chapters in Sudbury on February 24th. It's a Saturday, 12 to 3.
Wonderful. You've done an exceptional job.
Thank
Seriously,
you,
it's been a
Connor.
pleasure. Thank you very much.
Likewise.